What does the New York Jets running back room look like for the rest of this season and going forward? Well, let's talk about it. Well, welcome back to New York Sports WickerMedia. I'm Watsu-K99. Thank you, as always, for taking the time to watch these videos. If you enjoy what you're watching, a thumbs up is a great way to show it. And my goal is to get to 400 subscribers by the end of 2022, about 60 away or so. So if you haven't yet, please hit the subscribe button. It means a whole heck of a lot to me. Share it with a friend. Okay, let's go on and talk about the Jets running back situation. It seems as though the Jets running backs, their roles, their usage has really been in a state of upheaval ever since Breece Hall went down with that torn ACL at Mile High Stadium. The day that injury was announced, the Jets made the trade for James Robinson from Jacksonville. He has seen a limited time at best. Michael Carter, always there, very consistent player. We know what we're getting from him. You have Tyjohnson. But this past week, a young man emerged that a lot of us were very excited about going all the way back to training camp. A young man named bamknight from the great school of North Carolina State University. And I want to talk a little bit about Bam today, where he fits and some of these other running backs and what I want to see going forward. So Bam is a player who I was actually very high on even before the draft. I even felt, one of the things that I was talking about, I never was very high on the Jets taking a running back very high for a couple of reasons. I felt they had too many other needs that were too high of a priority. Wide receiver, cornerback, pass rusher, linebacker, safety. To me, with Michael Carter, and then you could add in another running back if you wanted to, but I felt it wasn't something that the Jets had to do until much later in the draft. I felt you would have good value with some of these other running backs. So Brian Robinson, a Jerome Ford, a Dameon Pierce. I felt these were players you could get in the 4th and 5th round and give you fantastic production. And we've actually seen that. Brian Robinson right now is a very good running back for Washington. He's made a great comeback from the shooting incident that he had when he was shot. He's made a great recovery, and that's a great thing to see. Dameon Pierce is doing great with Houston. Jerome Ford has had some injury issues with Cleveland. It remains to be seen what he is going to turn into. And there's been other guys like Tyler Algier and whatnot. I never denied Breece Hall's talent. I just didn't think that it made sense for the Jets to grab him as early as they would have to in the draft. But as it turns out, Joe Douglas did prioritize Breece Hall, traded up 2 spots to draft him. It was a fantastic maneuver, and Hall was well on his way to becoming Offensive Rookie of the Year before he got hurt. And then even better, though, the Jets were able to grab bamknight as an undrafted free agent from NC State. And this past Sunday against Chicago, well, he got his opportunity to shine after being basically stashed on the practice squad. I mean, he'd been available for other teams to claim him, but nobody did. It's amazing to me that the Jets were able to sneak him through waivers, and they were able to keep him. Well, they cannot expose him ever again. Because bamknight has earned his keep in just one game. You could see the raw ability that excited me and a whole lot of other people about this kid's potential. He wound up logging, let's talk about Sunday's game. He logged 30 offensive snaps. That's 48% of all offensive snaps. Now, part of that is Michael Carter did have to leave the game with right around, a little bit after halftime. He left early in the 3rd quarter. But here's the thing. Knight was already playing a key role before Carter got hurt. Of the 30 snaps that bamknight played, 12 of them were prior to Michael Carter's injury. So he wasn't just an injury replacement. Even on Wednesday, that was when the coaches told James Robinson he was not going to play because the coaching staff was excited about bamknight. They wanted the fresh legs in. They felt he was ready to contribute, and was he ever. bamknight carried the ball 14 times for 69 yards, averaging almost 5 yards per carry. He caught all 3 of his passing targets for 34 yards. 103 yards from scrimmage, which has been well publicized. The most yards from scrimmage any Jets rookie has ever had in their first game with the team. More than Al Toon, more than Don Maynard, Wesley Walker, John Riggins, Keyshawn Johnson. So that is a pretty cool stat to hear about. But here's my favorite stat from Sunday regarding Bam Knight. He led all running backs in the entire league with 9 missed tackles forced. Now, I know the Bears' defense stinks right now. I know that. But you could see just how slippery he was, how quick he was on his feet. He had that little burst that I think ever since Breece Hall, the Jets have really been lacking. I love Michael Carter, always will, but he doesn't have quite that same level of burst that we saw from Bam Knight. So to me, this is a type of running back the Jets have to keep playing because he does counter Michael Carter well. Ty Johnson doesn't have that explosiveness by any means. And James Robinson, he absolutely does not have the explosiveness that you would want to see from a running back. What he does have is power. Now I want to spend a moment here and talk about J-Rob. So James Robinson has been a productive running back in his career. He's been a 1,000-yard rusher for a season. You can't take anything away from that. But when the Jets made the trade to get him from Jacksonville, they traded. Now let's go over the trade again. They traded a 6th-round conditional pick that could turn into a 5th-round pick if J-Rob amasses 600 rushing yards for the season. Well, as of right now, with 6 weeks left to go, Robinson has 415 rushing yards. So, over the last 6 games, he has to get 185 yards. Essentially, it's 31 yards per game that Robinson would have to get. If he does that, that 6th-round pick becomes a 5th-round pick. But there were rumors coming out of Jacksonville when they made that trade that he had some knee soreness. And I don't know how true it is, but I got to say, I have not really seen much speed from J-Rob. He showed a lot of heart and a lot of toughness on that last series against Buffalo when the Jets just ran the ball down Buffalo's throat. But even when he had a little bit of open space, you could kind of see him. He was kind of struggling to run. He did not look smooth at all. He did not look comfortable, and I wonder if that goes back to his knee issue. So I think that's also the other reason. I think its contract was one reason that he sat, but also to rest his knee. With Michael Carter now having a sprained ankle, a low sprained ankle, he did not practice Wednesday. Right now he's being turned as day-to-day. I really think if Michael Carter was healthy, James Robinson would not be playing again this week. But the Jets are not about to dress 4 running backs for a game, okay? I think their best bet is to sit Michael Carter again, play James Robinson, but have him be the 3rd running back. I think Bam Knight should get the lion's share of the carries. Now, you still want to fit in Ty Johnson in limited doses. We saw a good Ty Johnson last week. He was catching the balls that were thrown his way. He had a good game. He scored a nice touchdown. But we know the frustrating side of Ty Johnson when he's dropping passes and, missing assignments. He can be an incredibly frustrating player to watch. I swear, 50 years from now, when the Jets have their own stadiums somehow, they've won a couple of Super Bowls under this Salad Douglas regime, knock on wood, Ty Johnson will somehow still have a spot on this roster. Just can't get rid of him. So, I guess with J-Rob, the whole thing is, if he's not adding anything to the offense in the short term, why jeopardize the draft class? And I know a 5th-round pick to a 6th-round pick doesn't sound big, but we've seen what Joe Douglas can do with mid to late-round picks, especially this past season. And you know what? J-Rob's got to earn his playing time. I know, and he was complaining a little bit this past week that, he didn't come here to be a DNP, to not play. And I appreciate his attitude, but you know what, J-Rob? Keep it to yourself. We don't need you going to the media. We don't need Elijah Moore Part 2. And if you are limited, then we've got other players now who can very well carry the load right now with more effectiveness than you can. As a matter of fact, I would go so far as to say they have at least 2 players for sure, in Carter and Knight, and possibly 3 in Ty Johnson. The way that Ty Johnson played last Sunday, I got to say, I think James Robinson right now is the 4th running back on this team. Now, is that going to turn out to be a wasted draft pick? You know what? You can look at it that way. The trade may turn out to not be worth it. So that is just a risk that you had to take after losing Breece Hall. It's like throwing enough stuff at the wall, see what sticks. But I got to tell you, I'm excited about Bamknight. He could add that speed and explosiveness that could really make a difference for this offense. Is he the home run hitter Breece Hall was? I don't know if I'm going to go that far. But I tell you what, he's as capable of being a breakaway threat as any other running back on this Jets team, and that gets me excited, especially as they head down the home stretch and they start playing some really good defenses, particularly Buffalo. But then there's going to be some defenses that aren't so good. You know, Detroit's not known for their run defense. Minnesota, their run defense isn't quite so great. But I am really pumped up to see more of Bamknight, and I hope the coaches are too. He better not be sitting on Sunday. I will be incredibly disappointed if Bam does not get the call to play at US Bank Stadium when the Jets take on the Vikings. Well, those are my thoughts on the running back situation. Let me know in the comments what you think. What should be the Jets' pecking order at running back? Who do you want to see get the Lions' share of the carries? Do you think Bamknight should be a starting running back going forward? Or, you know, is he just a fill-in for James Robinson and Michael Carter until they're both healthy? Thanks so much for watching. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate you taking the time to watch. Have a great day, and I'll see you back here with more content from you know where. The Wicker Chair.